A news alert, a Central woman charged with killing a 12-year-old girl who knocked on her front door will spend 20 years in jail. 27-year-old Esther Williams admitted to killing Cedrica Lee back in May of last year. Authorities believe Lee was involved in a feud between Williams, her boyfriend, and his ex-girlfriend. Williams pled guilty to manslaughter in June, avoiding a second-degree murder charge, which could have led to a life sentence.
The shooting occurred in May 2023 on Forest Grove Avenue, close to Wax Road in the Central area. The conflict began as a dispute over a man involving Williams and another adult woman named Gentra Renee Haley. Arrest documents indicate that witnesses reported Williams stepping out of a residence on Forest Grove Avenue, pointing a gun at a Mazda CX-9 and discharging a single shot. Lee and another individual were allegedly dispatched by Haley to approach Williams's door and were on their way back to the Mazda when the shooting occurred. Lee was hit by a bullet discharged by Williams. According to witnesses, Williams dropped the weapon following the shooting, and Patrick Johnson, identified as the central figure in the feud, retrieved it, as stated in the arrest documents. At the age of 36, Johnson faced charges including 1 count of being an accessory after the fact to first-degree murder and 3 counts of being an accessory after the fact to attempted first-degree murder. The documents indicated that the duo returned to the residence, departed shortly thereafter, and then fled the scene. Subsequently, a traffic stop was executed, resulting in the apprehension of both suspects. According to arrest records, Williams confessed that both she and the driver of the Mazda were romantically involved with Johnson. The documents also indicate that Williams disclosed to authorities previous conflicts with the Mazda's driver regarding Johnson.
Also new this midday, the Georgia Supreme Court upheld the conviction of a man in the shooting death of a Peach County 8-year-old. This happened in 2015 at the Indian Oaks Apartments in Fort Valley. Christian Whipple was convicted of firing through a door, killing Jamel Anderson. He was playing video games in the living room. Prosecutors say the shooting happened because Jamel's mother's boyfriend owed money for drugs. Whipple was sentenced to life in prison for murder in 2016. He appealed, saying the judge did not give the jury the option to convict him of a lesser crime, involuntary manslaughter. Citing previous cases, though, the justices ruled that this is not enough to get his conviction thrown out. Whipple and 2 other men are serving life without parole.
Following several days of court proceedings, a Peach County jury convicted all 3 co-defendants in the murder trial of Jamel Anderson. Anderson, an 8-year-old boy, was tragically killed in January 2015 when over a dozen bullets were shot into his home at the Indian Oaks Apartments in Fort Valley as he sat inside playing video games. His stepfather, 22-year-old Dejod Williams, was looking after him on the night of the shooting. Williams was taken into custody shortly after Anderson's death. The trial of the 3 men accused of the fatal shooting of Anderson, Dennis Eason, 25, Christian Whipple, 21, and Tevin Sams, 22, commenced on November 1st. Each co-defendant faced a second-degree murder charge for the death of the young boy. The jury returned a guilty verdict for all 3 men on Wednesday. At the trial's commencement, prosecutor Elizabeth Bobbitt presented the state's case, asserting that after Eason returned from California in November 2014 as a drug dealer, he reestablished contact with Williams. She claimed they quickly had a dispute over a drug transaction, which precipitated the deadly shooting. According to Bobbitt, on the night in question, Eason, Whipple, and Williams arrived at the Indian Oaks Apartments and discharged over a dozen bullets through the door, striking Anderson fatally twice. During the trial's second day, the jury listened to several witnesses, among them Antonio Garvin, who had admitted guilt for 2 aggravated assault charges related to Anderson's demise. Garvin stated he encountered Sams and Whipple on the shooting's evening, and they confided in him about their plan to shoot up Williams. He recounted that on that night, the trio went to the Indian Oaks apartment complex armed, and he subsequently heard gunshots before seeing the men hastily return to their vehicles. The following day, Jeremy Jackson, Garvin's cousin, gave his testimony. He informed the jury that he was the second driver during the January incident which resulted in Anderson's death, stating his presence in Fort Valley that night was solely to protect his cousin. Eason was convicted on all 6 charges: malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, making terroristic threats, and 2 counts of firearm possession during a felony. Sams and Whipple were found guilty of the same charges with the exception of making terroristic threats. Sams expressed his apologies to the Anderson family, acknowledging that the men had made a grievous error for which they must now atone. Bobbitt urged the judge to levy the harshest possible sentence on each defendant, to which the judge consented. Conversely, Eason's defense lawyer, Brian Tevis, pleaded for mercy, contending that a life sentence without the possibility of parole was disproportionate to the crime.
Or DTE. We're checking for gas leaks.
And we're going to begin tonight with our first look at one of the 2 men accused of posing as DTE workers and killing a man inside his Rochester Hills home. Today, 39-year-old Joshua Zuazo appeared in court to be formally charged with felony murder.
His alleged accomplice, Carlos Hernandez, is expected to be brought here to Michigan next week after waiving extradition in Louisiana. We want to get to Sean Lay live right now. Sean, we're finally getting some insight into a motive here.
Let's talk about motive. It's in the court documents we got here today at District Court 52-3. Motive, clearly robbery, according to the sheriff and sheriff's investigators. Why the Murray family in Rochester Hills was targeted, that is still under investigation. Why 2 people went there and what they wanted inside. Again, sheriff's investigators have not been able to answer that question. What is the link here? In the meantime, one of 2 men, as you say, officially charged. Let's take you inside court.
Everybody pitched in. And so now we've had both in custody for days in a horrific murder.
Let me take you inside a Rochester courtroom for our first look at one of the 2 men sheriff's investigators say posed as DTE workers 1 week ago. 39-year-old Joshua Zuazo of Dearborn.
Or DTE. We're checking for gas leaks.
A shocking plan to get inside the home of Hussein Murray, who had a jewelry and pawn shop in Hamtramck. Murray's 72-year-old wife was bound with duct tape upstairs. Murray was found bloodied and dead in the basement.
Upon arrival on scene, deputies located her husband deceased in the basement, bound by duct tape around his ankles and wrists and duct tape circling his head several times.
Suspect number 1, investigators say, is Carlos Hernandez, arrested a day later in Louisiana. And we are digging to find out a lot about Joshua Zuazo.
We do show that he has extensive criminal history that dates back 2.5 decades.
We dug up that criminal history, released in 2022 for having a weapon in prison, past convictions for armed robbery, multiple other robberies, felony gun crimes, and fleeing.
In this matter, bond will be denied. It is obvious that these charges are very serious. This court has a concern about the public safety, and this court does have concern about a flight risk.
All right, that's just happening here in court a short time ago. Zuazo pleading not guilty to all 3 charges. He is being held without bond right now. You mentioned Kimberly Hernandez will be brought back by sheriff's investigators sometime next week to face charges right here. In the meantime, we keep asking the sheriff. We just interviewed him a few minutes ago. Anyone else involved here? How far does this go? We're still working on that. We'll have that answer at 6 o'clock.
Sean, before you go, I want to ask you about something. You got to see the witness list that includes Home Depot, Lowe's, and Tik Tok. Explain.
We got to ask questions about that. Lowe's and Home Depot, apparently these two are on video. Sheriff's investigators found buying things like zip ties, and they say the same zip ties size were found at the scene of the crime. Tik Tok, the sheriff tells me, a tip, apparently an important tip, came through Tik Tok, and that's why they have it on the witness list to get that tip in the video.
Interesting. We'll continue to follow it. Sean, we appreciate it.
The search has concluded for a Michigan man accused of posing as a utility worker to enter a couple's home, where he murdered the husband and restrained his wife. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office confirmed the apprehension of the second suspect following the death of Hussein Murray, 72, in his Rochester Hills residence last Friday. Carlos Jose Hernandez, 37, had already been arrested in Louisiana, facing charges of felony murder and unlawful imprisonment. The identity of the second suspect and the specific charges against him have not been disclosed by the police. Police have released footage from a Ring doorbell that captured Hernandez and another individual donning yellow fluorescent vests and masks outside Murray's residence in a Detroit suburb. They were carrying a fraudulent work order on a clipboard and counterfeit badges. Hernandez is heard claiming to be from DTE, checking for gas leaks, purporting to represent a local energy firm. Murray, deceived by the ruse, signed the sham work order and escorted Hernandez and his accomplice into his basement, according to Oakland County prosecutors. Shortly thereafter, the defendant and the other male came up and asked the female victim where the money and jewelry were, the prosecutor's office said, NBC News reported. They duct-taped her wrists and ankles. At one point, she started to scream, and the defendant hit her across the face. Murray's 72-year-old wife was able to reach a phone and call 911, summoning police to the home. She was briefly hospitalized after her ordeal. Hernandez and the other man allegedly fled the scene with the woman's phone and watch. Murray was found dead in the basement of the home with his wrists and ankles duct-taped. The duo escaped in a white pickup truck adorned with a DTE Energy decal. Prior to their successful entry into the home at 10 a.m. on Friday, they had attempted to enter at the same time on Thursday but were rebuffed. Police suspect that Murray was targeted because of the assailants' prior knowledge of valuables or money they anticipated finding inside. The couple owns a jewelry and pawn shop in the Detroit area, according to prosecutors. A continuing aspect of our investigation is determining what led them to that door at that specific tragic moment, stated Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard in an interview with NBC. Deputies from the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office in Shreveport, Louisiana, apprehended Hernandez on Saturday after they observed him heading south on I-49 from Arkansas, according to the agency. Additionally, there is an outstanding warrant for his arrest in Ohio related to an alleged armed robbery, as reported by NBC News. The U.S. Marshals Service is also participating in the case. The assault on an elderly couple in their residence was particularly heinous, stated Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald. I have approved the most severe charge, which mandates a life sentence without the possibility of parole for this vicious offense. DTE Energy has issued a warning to residents about the risk of imposters entering their homes. The company advises that residents can call 800-477-4747 to verify the credentials of anyone claiming to be a DTE worker. The company's statement further advises, should someone come to your home or business claiming to be from DTE, you should request to see a badge with a photo ID. If they cannot present their badge, do not permit them entry.
The detective gave new information about the crime scene, saying that the victim was bound with duct tape tied around his hands, feet, and face. They also talked about surveillance footage they have of both suspects hours before and after the crime.
For DTE, we're checking for gas leaks.
It's the chilling clip that's been seen nationwide. Now we have the names of the two men allegedly in the video, Carlos Hernandez and Joshua Zuazo. Both men are behind bars and accused of killing this Rochester Hills grandfather during a home invasion last week.
A female caller called, stated two guys pretending to be DTE workers robbed them. She indicated that she was tied up by duct tape and she did not know where her husband was.
In court Thursday, Oakland County Sheriff's Detective David Packmeyer gave new details about the investigation, including how they found the body of 72-year-old Hussein Murray.
Deputies located her husband deceased in the basement, bound by duct tape around his ankles and wrists and duct tape circling his head several times. His nose and face were also restricted from the duct tape.
Hernandez was arrested Saturday in Shreveport, Louisiana. Police said his wife told investigators the name of the other suspect, Joshua Zuazo, who was later arrested. Police say they also have surveillance videos of the suspects from earlier that day.
Additional footage showing Carlos and Joshua the day of the robbery/homicide in the Lowe's buying black zip ties that were located at the crime scene and also on Mr. Hussein.
Hernandez is still awaiting extradition from Louisiana. Zuazo will be in court tomorrow for an arraignment. As for the motive to all of this, police have yet to give us anything concrete on that, so we'll stay on it. Reporting live in Detroit, Jacqueline Francis, Local 4.
We sure will. The story just keeps expanding. All right, Jacqueline. Now, a reminder tonight, DTE is issuing tips to protect you from falling victim to impersonation scams. First, check for identification. Legitimate employees will always carry and show their ID badges. Also, there are no unannounced visits. They don't just show up. DTE will always try to contact you before coming to your home. Lastly, verify with DTE before allowing anyone inside your home.
A teenage Walmart employee was discovered deceased in her store's walk-in oven last week, reportedly locked inside while the appliance was still active, as per emergency officials' audio response to the incident. The approximately 90-second call captures a dispatcher categorizing the situation as a technical rescue call at the Walmart located in Halifax, Canada. A female is locked in the bakery's oven, which is on, and it is uncertain if the staff can deactivate it, the dispatcher is heard stating in the audio. A later inquiry by a first responder was, "Is the power shut off for the person trapped in the on there? Should the staff turn off the power? In case we make contact." However, another official soon stated, the individual was already out of the oven upon arrival, and the incident was under the jurisdiction of the regional police. The victim was identified as Gursimran Kaur. The Halifax Regional Police have reported responding to a call at a Walmart location on Saturday, October 19th at approximately 9:30 p.m. local time, following a report of a sudden death. A woman was discovered in a large walk-in oven in the store's bakery department. The news release stated that a 19-year-old female employee at the Walmart store was discovered deceased. The police also mentioned that investigators were collaborating closely with Occupational Health and Safety and the Nova Scotia Medical Examiner Service to ascertain the cause and manner of the death. Gursimran Kaur, 19, was working with her mother at a store in Halifax, Nova Scotia, on Saturday evening when tragedy struck. Gursimran's mother, who often checked on her daughter during their shared shifts, grew concerned after not seeing her for a prolonged time and began searching for her. She ended up finding her daughter's charred remains inside the bakery oven. Another staff member noticed leakage emanating coming from the area. The authorities have not indicated whether they suspect any criminal activity. Kaur, a member of the local Sikh community, had been residing in Canada for only a few years. Her father and brother, currently in India, are attempting to travel to Canada, as stated on the fundraising page. The investigation of this incident is still under investigation. Sending my condolences to family.
Now, Westlake mom could do jail time after police discovered she left her kids home alone for nearly 3 days. Thanks for joining us for the news at 10 o'clock. I'm Chris Fry. Police say she was watching them remotely from time to time with security cameras while she was in Florida. 19 investigator Kelly Kennedy obtaining police body cam video and breaks down what happened.
The good news is the kids are okay. This mom left her 4th grade daughter in charge of her 2 special needs younger sisters. Now, thankfully, Westlake Elementary School teachers did the right thing and called police for a welfare check when one of the kids told them that their mom was out of state. A judge ruled this 32-year-old Westlake mom put her children in danger when she left them home alone and without a phone. The mom would check in with FaceTime via a laptop or monitor them from the home's security cameras.
Police department.
Yeah.
Hi. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for a concerned teacher, police may have never known these kids were alone.
She kind of reported to her teacher that she talked to mom on the camera last night and that mom ordered them Uber Eats and left it at the door.
Police say the apartment was filthy and there was liquid spilled all over the floor. While officers were there, one of the twin girls slipped and fell.
Oh, goodness. Are you okay?
Westlake prosecuting attorney Michael Maloney was horrified when he got the case.
Remote work's one thing, remote mom is another.
Eventually, police tracked down the grandmother.
Do they always stay here like this?
No, my daughter, her friend was in the hospital.
And the grandmother wasn't alerted by the daughter that she was going to be going out of town, leaving the kids alone?
No, it was worse. Mom lied to her mother. There were adults that were available to help out.
The mom, Dominique Knowles, was out of state. She took her 8-month-old son with her, but left her 3 other kids at home. Police were able to prove she spent 2 nights in Miami.
She lied. We have pretty good technology and pretty trained detectives. They showed her leaving Hopkins Airport, timed the calls showing mom at an airport in Miami, and when mom was confronted with that, she changed her story and said something about having to be in Miami because her friend needed liposuction surgery.
Police arrested Knowles and charged her with child endangerment.
Announce yourself, Dominique.
There was a patio door that was unlocked when the officers were there. Every teacher and counselor at the school said there is no question these girls would have wandered off given the chance.
Knowles was found guilty of child endangerment earlier this month. She'll be sentenced on Wednesday, where she could face up to 6 months in prison. We'll keep you updated on this case. Reporting in Westlake, I'm Kelly Kennedy, 19 News.
This is perhaps the most absurd situation imaginable. Why would anyone in their right mind choose to leave their children unattended, not for work, but to travel to another state because a friend needs surgery? At some point, you must set priorities. As a parent, your children should always come first. The needs of others should not overshadow this. Moreover, it's perplexing that a friend would endorse leaving your children alone, particularly if they require special care. It's a disheartening scenario, but let's delve into it, everyone. An Ohio mother entrusted her 2 daughters with special needs to their 10-year-old sister while she traveled to Miami for a 3-day visit to a friend undergoing liposuction surgery. Dominique Knowles, 32, could face jail time on Wednesday after her conviction for child endangerment. She left the children alone at home without a phone, sporadically checking on them via the internet, and arranging for their meals to be delivered by Uber Eats, according to WAGM-TV. The mother was not really checking in, said prosecuting attorney Michael Maloney. Remote work is one thing, remote mom is another. The mother brought her 8-month-old son to Florida, but left her 7-year-old daughters, who have special needs, in the care of their 10-year-old sister, with a patio door left unlocked throughout their absence. It was worse, Maloney stated, revealing that Knowles had deceived her own mother, who was willing and able to look after the grandchildren. There were adults available who could have assisted. While approximately 1,200 miles from their Westlake home, the mother sporadically monitored her children, who were alone, via laptop and home security cameras, according to officials. The situation came to light when the 10-year-old's 4th-grade teacher became concerned after the child mentioned speaking with her mother through the camera the previous night, and that her mother had ordered food from Uber Eats, leaving it at the door. Upon arrival, officers found the apartment in disarray, with spilled liquid covering the floor, as reported by the police. During the officers' presence, one of the twin girls slipped and fell. Initially, Knowles denied departing from Ohio, but authorities confirmed her presence in Miami. She wasn't truthful, stated Maloney. Evidence of her leaving Hopkins Airport on the relevant evening was presented, along with call timings that placed her at a Miami airport within a 2-hour window, aligning with the flight duration from Cleveland to Miami. Upon being challenged with this information, she altered her account, claiming the need to be in Miami for a friend's liposuction surgery. Upon her arrest, Knowles informed the police, "My children have the right to stay here unattended." The arresting officer replied, "Not when you have 2 special needs children." Authorities also noted that a patio door remained unlocked at the residence throughout the duration the children were unattended. Every teacher and counselor at the school agreed without doubt that these girls would have wandered off if given the opportunity. "I don't even want to think about the potential consequences, like abduction or walking into traffic," stated Maloney. Knowles was convicted of child endangerment earlier this month. Her sentencing is scheduled for Wednesday, and she faces a potential 6-month prison term. Thank you for watching until the end of my video. Your loyalty as a viewer is greatly appreciated. Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comment section below on any of these videos. I enjoy interacting with my audience, so don't hesitate to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. See ya in the next video.